how can you draw your listener in and give that this is the moral of the story kind of sound in your church music? That's what we're going to discuss today in Dr. Doug's Daily Tips for how to write great LDS church music. We're looking at the primary song from the Primary Children's Songbook, I Will Try to Be Reverent, found on page 28. It's the bottom half of page 28. Not a hymn, not a primary song we sing very much, but there's a fantastic moral of the story composer gem in this song. It's actually kind of an if-then statement in harmony. It presents a, if you do this, then this will result. Very much like a principle of the gospel. If ye keep my commandments, ye shall prosper in the land. If then. It's like, if you keep your covenants, you will receive blessings. And this song has a beautiful and very simple way to make that if-then statement come to life. Let me play this for you first to get it in your ear, because it's not a very popular primary song, and then I'll zoom in for you. Okay, nice little tune, but what we really want to look at is that sound of, if you do this, then you'll receive this. The if occurs right here. So I love my Heavenly Father, and I will try to be reverent when I'm in His house. So this is the if. Like, if you're reverent, then, which is exactly where the then chord happens on the word then He'll be near to me. Okay? So those two chords actually depict a feeling of if, then. Okay, let's look at these chords. We are in the key of F major, and as we, this opening line is pretty basic. It's really normal chords, and we end the line on an F major chord. But then this second line, we take that F major chord and we lower the seventh. We make it a flat 7. So we did have F major, but now F major with an E flat. That brings up this like, hey, if you do this, and then that E flat resolves down to D, as it should. So we have this was the 1 chord, but now that we added that flat 7, we actually call this a 5/7 of 4. And what that means is it's a chord that's leaning to the 4 chord. But the composer is tricky. And instead of going to the 4 chord here, we go to its cousin, the 2 chord, which is G minor. Okay, so that's a little sneaky. But the main thing that happens is you take the 1 chord and you lower that 7th to E flat, and that gives you the, hey, if you do this kind of a sound. But then we need the other half. We need, then this will occur. And it happens right before the signal that the piece is ending. When a piece is ending, we very often get a signal with a second inversion 1 chord. So here's this 1 chord again, this F major chord, but look which note is in the bass. The F is not in the bass. The C is in the bass. So this is F with C in the bass, or in Roman numerals, this is the 1-6-4. And when we hear the 1-6-4, that's the signal, oh, the piece is about to end. The 1-6-4 goes to 5-7, and then we get 1. But right before the signal that it's ending, we get this chord in green. Now, what is this chord? Listen to how this resolves. We get the regular on heel. We'll get the 1 chord with the 5th in the bass. Right before it, we get, which kind of answers the if that we had on Reverent. So Reverent, the final resolution. So what is this then chord? Let's zoom way in. So if you look at the F major chord here, let's just look at the horizontal motion really quick. So the bass part goes from B natural up to C. B natural to C, which is kind of the reverse of the E flat going down to the D. Half-step chromatic motion is very powerful. So this time we had half-step chromatic motion going down on Reverent. That's the if sound. Half-step chromatic motion going down. Now the then sound is half-step chromatic motion going up. And we get it first in the bass, B natural up to C. Then we get it in the alto, G sharp up to A. Then the tenor holds the fort because we have this common tone between the then chord and the 1-6-4, and the soprano steps down gently. Okay. What is this chord? This chord is G sharp fully diminished 7. And the notes are G sharp, B natural, D, and F. Fully diminished. Now this is cool because we just had the G minor, and this is a fantastic trick. I really want you to learn this trick. At the end of a piece, we end on 1. We usually precede 1 with the 5, and often we precede the 5 with the 1-6-4, because the 1-6-4 and the 5, they're kind of the same chord. One's just like suspended over the other, but they work together. And often before that, we get the 2, which we get here. We get the 2 chord right here, and then we get the 1-6-4 and the 5-7 and the 1, just as this little blue chart depicts. But in between, we get this G sharp diminished chord. So we took the G minor chord, which was the 2, G minor, and then we raise the bass a half step up, and we get G sharp diminished. Then we get the 1-6-4, which is F over C. Then we get the 5, which is the C7. Then we get the 1, which is F. So this little in-between chord, where the 2, instead of the 2 going directly to 1-6-4, the 2 stops first at this diminished chord after the fermata, and because of the upward half-step motion on the word then, with the B natural going up to the C, the G sharp going up to the A, it gives it that then kind of moral of the story sound. Now, if the Roman numerals are a little complicated, you're like, that's a little much for me, here's another way to think about this that makes it a little easier. Whichever chord is your catalyst chord for the end, like in this case, it's the 1-6-4. Or it could be the 5-7. It could be any chord that you're about to end with. If you think, could I make some half steps approach this chord? That's how you get this sound. So that's one way the composer could have thought of this. I don't know if they did or not. I wasn't there when they wrote it. But this 1-6-4 chord, all they did was they took the G sharp, which was a half step below it, and resolved it to the A, and they took the B natural and resolved it up a half step to the C, and that created this moral of the story sound. And having it countered right before with the if sound of the flat downward half step is a super cool balancing act. We raise the flag, hey, if you do this, downward half step motion on the 1 chord, chromatic motion, and then chromatic motion in upward half steps, and we get this very cool moral of the story kind of sound. Let me play it one more time for you and really zoom in and listen to those chords. if, then. Fantastic moral of the story, chords. Thanks for tuning in today. If you enjoyed this free content, please hit the subscribe button and ring the bell so you get notified each time I post a video. And if you'd like more free lessons on how to write great LDS church music, please head over to latterdaymusiversity.com where you can subscribe and get a bunch more free lessons. Thanks for tuning in. See you next time.